For quite some time now, Terence Bud Crawford's fan base have been saying that Jaron Ennis had a chance to fight Bud Crawford, but he ducked him. Also, Terence Bud Crawford, he said this same thing, that Jaron Ennis had a chance to fight him and he didn't take the opportunity. Well, in this video, we're going to break down the events, the timeline, and we're going to find out, is it fact or is it cap that Jaron Ennis ducked Terence Bud Crawford? Before we do this, make sure you hit my like button, subscribe to the channel if you're not already subbed, and let's cook. Jaron Ennis ducked Terence Bud Crawford. This is a narrative that Bud Crawford's fan base have been running wild with for quite some time. And now they even saying it more because today we found out that Jaron Ennis, he signed to Matchroom Boxing with Eddie Hearn. Now I'll give y'all my thoughts and feelings about that later on in the video. But let's get back to the main topic. And the main topic is, did Jaron Ennis ever duck Terence Bud Crawford? We all know that Bud Crawford, he pulled out of negotiations when Errol Spence was waiting on him. He had Showtime waiting on him, and he pulled out and he went and did business with BLK Prime to fight David I've Been Sneezing. Now, leading up to try to find an opponent for Terence Bud Crawford to face on BLK Prime, we heard that they reached out to Jaron Ennis. Right, yeah, the big bad boogeyman, Jaron Ennis. Terence Bud Crawford and his team, they reached out. So let me explain to people what happened in the timeline and the events around it if they don't know. So like I already told you, Bud Crawford, he pulled out of negotiations with Spence because he says that he didn't want to sit on the shelf, right? He would have been out of the ring like a year. He said he didn't want to go into an Errol Spence fight with a year layoff. So he pulled out and he fought David I've Been Sneezing, and he said that they paid him $10 million, which we found out later on that was big cap, huge cap. He never got paid nowhere near $10 million on BLK Prime, but that's a whole different story in itself. So meanwhile, before they contacted David I've Been Sneezing and got the fight signed, sealed, and delivered, they say that they contact Jaron Boots Ennis and his team. Now, Bozy Ennis, Jaron Ennis's trainer and father, he says, yes, they did reach out, but we told him, you got to talk to our promoter. You got to talk to Steven Espinoza. Y'all know that it's disrespectful. We can't do business without involving them in the business. And Bud Crawford knows how this worked, because what they did, instead of going to Steven Espinoza and talking to Jaron Boots Ennis's promoter, they went straight to Bozy Ennis when they know that Bozy can't make no decisions like that if he's under contract. And at the time, Jaron Boots Ennis was under contract with Cameron Duncan, who was his promoter, and he also had signed an exclusive network deal to fight on Showtime. So Bozy Ennis was right, because it would be no possible way without being in breach of contract for them just to say, okay, you know what? We going over here. We gonna take this fight on BLK Prime and we'll be back to mess with y'all. No, he had to get the okay from not only his promoter, he has to get the okay from the network. So Bozy Ennis says, you know, go talk to my people. Go talk to the people that's running our career at this point in time. BLK Prime and Terence Bud Crawford's people, they eventually got in contact briefly with Steven Espinoza, and Espinoza simply responded by saying, yeah, we talked to him briefly, but why do we need BLK Prime to make a fight between Terence Bud Crawford and Jaron Ennis? If Terence Bud Crawford wants to make this fight happen, we can do it over here on Showtime. Why would we work with a company that's not established in boxing, that we've never heard of, that's never put on any type of boxing events? Why would we work with them? We don't need to. We can make the fight over here on Showtime if that's what Bud Crawford wants. Now, if you ask me, Steven Espinoza made all of the sense in the world, because why would you try to work with a company that's not established? If you look up their history, they have like 12 or 13 bankruptcies, and they've never put on a boxing event before. So that was that. It didn't go down. And like I said before, Terence Crawford knows how the business works. That's why Terence Crawford couldn't make different moves when he was on Top Rank. So Terence Crawford, knowing that he couldn't just leave Top Rank and go over to PBC while he was in contract, or leave Top Rank and go over to any other promotional network while he was in contract with Top Rank, why would he try to make it seem like that Jaron Ennis can? Why would he go and talk to Jaron Ennis's father instead of talking to the promotional team and the network? He knows how the business is ran because he's been in similar situations himself. So all of that, we already know that's all cap. It was no way for Jaron Ennis at that point in time to fight Terence Bud Crawford on BLK Prime without getting the okay from the network, his promoter, and his management team. So it seems like that Bud Crawford and his team, they reached out knowing what it was already, just to say that they reached out in the public so the public can take this and run with it. You also got Terence Bud Crawford fans saying that, why didn't Boots go to WBO route? He decided to go to IBF route with Errol Spence. He could have went the WBO route and put in for his mandatory to fight Terence Crawford. The reason that Jaron Ennis went the IBF route, because that was the easiest route for him to go business-wise. Errol Spence was with the PBC, fighting on Showtime. Jaron Ennis was fighting on Showtime. He was under exclusive network deal with Showtime. So if he hadn't went the WBO route when he first became Errol Spence's mandatory, right, and decided to go that route, I believe that Terence Crawford was still over there on Top Rank. It would have been very difficult to make a fight happen with Bud Crawford on Top Rank. Right after that, Bud Crawford became a free agent, and Bud Crawford was with no promotional company. Plus, they always said that the WBO belt was the Top Rank belt. Bob Arum even spoke about it, and he says, well, they say that because I have a very, very close relationship with the WBO. Jaron Ennis knows that it would have been very, very hard to get the WBO to mandate a fight between him and Terence Crawford. So he went the route where he thought it was the easier route to become a champion, and that was Errol Spence that was right there pretty much on his side of the street. But the main fact is, during all of this, Terence Crawford and Errol Spence, they were in negotiations trying to solve all the problems that they had leading up to making that fight happen. You know what I'm saying? So the bottom line is, no sanctioning body was going to mandate Jaron Ennis to fight Errol Spence, nor Terence Bud Crawford when they're in negotiations trying to make that fight happen. None of those sanctioning bodies was going to stop Terence Crawford and Errol Spence from fighting for Jaron Boots Ennis. It wasn't going to happen. So when you go down the timeline and you put all the pieces of the puzzle together, it's cap. He never ducked Terence Bud Crawford. It's big cap. He never had a chance, a real chance, to fight Bud Crawford. But Bud Crawford had a real chance to fight Jaron Ennis because Bud Crawford was the free agent. And if he wanted to fight Jaron Ennis, he could have very well easily done it. And he could have done it just recently after Terence Bud Crawford annihilated Errol Spence. He ain't had nothing to do. Wasn't nothing going on. He never said, okay, I won't fight him, but I'll fight him at 154. He just flat out said he don't bring nothing to the table. I'm not fighting him. He didn't put a price out there and say what he'll fight him for. None of that. He just shot it down. So if he had been like, you know what? I'm not fighting at 147 no more. He can come and fight me at 154. Then we would have been looking at Jaron Ennis. You got to move up, bro. He calling you out to fight at 154, but it wasn't that. And Bud Crawford is still to this day holding 3 straps at 147. And Jaron Ennis has the strap of the IBF that they stripped Bud Crawford of because Bud Crawford refused to fight Jaron Ennis. Why is he still holding the straps at 147 if he's not going to fight at that weight division? So it's capped that Jaron Ennis ducked Bud Crawford, but hey, it could very, very much be a fact the other way around that Terence Bud Crawford ducked Jaron Ennis. That's a whole different video. Now, I'm going to get into how I feel about Jaron Ennis signing with Matchroom. Let's just keep it a buck. Jaron Ennis been sitting on the shelf. We know PBC, they don't keep their fighters active like they should. And I'm not one of these that's going to bang a network or none of that. I'm going to just keep it raw. So him signing to Matchroom, I don't look at their roster. Their roster ain't really shit at 147. You know, PBC, they don't really have big names at 147 either, but they do have a better roster at 147 than Matchroom do. But it's just clear. But I think the reason that Jaron has made this decision, I think it's a smart decision because he's going to be able to stay active. At least Eddie Hearn ain't going to sit you on the shelf and have you fighting once a year. That's a problem with PBC. You know, Jaron Ennis probably looked at the situation and is like, I don't know when I'm going to fight, and I don't know how many times I'm going to be able to fight. I'm probably only going to be able to fight one time max. So now I'm going to go somewhere where I can stay active for right now. These fighters don't want to be sitting on the shelf, especially when you got all the talent in the world like Jaron Ennis. He don't want to sit on the shelf and just waste that talent. Plus, I told people before in the past that one thing that's going to have to happen with Jaron Ennis is he's going to need a promoter that's willing to overpay a big name fighter to fight him. And we know Eddie Hearn is probably the only promoter that's willing to overpay to make a fight happen. Because these other promoters ain't going to do it. All these dudes is ducking Jaron Ennis, so you're going to have to pay him a whole lot to get in the ring with Ennis if it's a big name. And Eddie Hearn, he's the only one that's willing to do that. So, is he going to get the toughest competition on Matchroom? No. But is it a smart decision if he wants to stay active and get his bag up? Yes. And another great thing is Eddie Hearn and DAZN, they have a great relationship with the Saudis. Al Heyman don't. He don't do business with them. So you can look at that also. Anyway, y'all let me know how y'all feel about all of this. Drop a comment in the comment section. Make sure you hit my like button. Is it cap or is it fact? I say it was cap. He never ducked Terence Bud Crawford. Let me hear from y'all. Just got it fitted on some shit I need a ladder for.